And the bigger fish when the brush falls off the dock.
There's an adage in sports competition that when the going gets tough, the tough get going. Today we're going to see if that's really true. Our Bassmaster's cameras are covering the $271,000 Bassmaster North Carolina Top 100 tournament at Lake Norman near Mooresville. When conditions are perfect, Lake Norman provides a tough bass fishing challenge. When things turn sour, even the best bass catchers around can't make them bite. But there are plenty of opinions and reasons as to why the bass are shut down.
This lake's in the process of turning over. And what I mean by turning over, that means that the cool front we had, the water that's cooled off on top is actually passing through the entire level of the lake. When it does that, the fish are kind of scattered, like you shot them out of a shotgun. It's hard to pattern anything. What I mean by pattern, you may catch one deep, you may catch one shallow, there's no telling where you'll catch one. They're not really gathered up.
It's just super tough. The fish are not in a good mood. We're not getting any wind. The lake is about normal level for this time of year, and the water's pretty clear. So these fish are real finicky, and they're just hard to trigger into striking.
You probably should know this lake better than anybody. What is your feeling about the circumstance of fishing being slightly off?
Well, the water turned over just right before we came here, and it's really got the fish all messed up. In fact, most of the fish are out there in the lake schooling.
As long as it'll stay cloudy, I think I can probably catch some, but it's scary because it's miles between bites. So you've had confidence since you've been here?
Oh, yeah, I've got great confidence. I think that probably the fish would bite a lot better, but I think possibly the star constellations aren't lined up exactly right, and with the moon and its variance on the sun and
collaboration generally.
Generally, it's clabbered.
Sounds like these top 100 pros have got some work to do. Catching a 14-inch keeper-sized tournament bass won't be so easy. But with $45,000 on the table for the winner, you can almost bet they'll keep trying until the last cast. Tough tournaments, as a rule, are more interesting. The lessons learned are earned. Stay tuned. I'm Bob Cobb. The Bassmasters will be right back, and we'll find out how the pros stack up on a tough lake.
Lake Norman, on the outskirts of Mooresville, North Carolina, the site of the $271,000 Bassmaster North Carolina Top 100, an important qualifying tournament on the road to the Bassmasters Classic 1995 World Championship. A field of 107 professional anglers are on hand, and the best pros in the land and their amateur partners face a stiff challenge before this four-day tournament is decided. BASS Tournament Trail history tells us that this 32,500-acre Duke Power Company lake on the Catawba River is a stubborn test for the best. It's the third Bass Angler Sportsman Society Pro Tour stop here. Former Classic champion Stanley Mitchell won in 1992 with 46 pounds. Mike Bingham's catch of 39 pounds 5 ounces did the trick last May. Not bad weights, but those four-day totals came in the spring, reportedly the peak of Lake Norman's bassin production. We're here now in late October, and the fall season on Lake Norman can be a bittersweet time. Guy Akers Sr. of Cherryville, North Carolina knows.
We had that cold front come through too, and what it done, there's a fish busted right up in off one of them stumps. What that cold front done, it moved the bait fish back off of the bank, and they're out here where I'm at right now, and that's where the fish are going to be. There's not going to be a lot of fish up on the bank if the bait's not up there. What I'm fishing is the old river channel stump road. It's 5 foot right over there, and where I'm sitting now, it's 10 foot. And what I'm doing, I'm fishing a Model A, number 7 Model A, and this is usually what I fish it with, because the Model A will hit it real good and roll over and come off of it and not get hung up. But all I'm trying to do is stay right on the edge of the river channel, the old river channel right here, and bump these stumps. Like that right there. Just hit one in. But these fish, a lot of times when they pull back off the bank, right here's where they'll pull to. And with the current flowing out of the river, The fish are always set, and I always fish it upriver because that's the way they're positioned with the current. And when their bait fish comes by, they just ease out there and suck him in. So what I'm trying to do is bump these stumps. Man, there ought to be some fish right here, I'm telling you. Ain't gonna be. There he is. There he is, right there. Easy, boy. Easy. Easy now. Easy. Right. That helped the cause right there. That was worth coming up here for, wasn't it?
Mickey Bruce of Georgia is also fishing deeper, using a jig to hook a bass in a brush pile located in a ditch. Mickey placed third in May and ranked #1 on the Bassmaster Top 100 trail last season.
Be long and skinny, ain't it? Typical Lake Norman fish. Come on, darling. Be long enough to think you are.
And from what I can see, it's going to be an awful tough tournament, but I kind of like it that way. A little bit lucky, get a little bit something going on, and you got an opportunity to win.
Former world champion Tommy Martin of Texas is finding it difficult to pinpoint a pattern.
And there's just not a lot of oxygen down in the deeper water, so most of the fish here stay pretty shallow. They don't go out in the deep water, and you pretty well have to beat the banks and fish shallow to catch your fish. It's just real hard to trigger one in to strike it. I'm using a little bitty 4-inch shad-colored twitch assassin. These bass are feeding on shad right now, and real small shad. I'm using light line, 8-pound test line, and every now and then I can get one to come up and hit this little bait if I throw it right on top of him.
There are some fish on Lake Norman's most plentiful structure, boat docks. All-time pro Roland Martin hooked this largemouth on a jig, but will it meet the 14-inch keeper length? Roland recently notched his 18th victory on the Bassmaster Tournament Trail, winning the Connecticut River Top 100. This bass will measure, but barely. At the day one weigh-in, very few 5-bass limits are being counted, and several fish just do make the size limit. Roland Martin scores 3 pounds, 13 ounces with 2 keepers.
You're coming off a big win in Connecticut. That was a remarkable feat. And here we come into the circumstance here which conditions are dreadful.
Well, it's really not so dreadful. You know, it's all relative to what everybody catches. I don't care if I can just catch 4 or 5 pounds a day. I could win the tournament. So I don't feel bad about having tough days to fish, just as long as I beat everybody else.
Getting ahead in this tournament won't take much weight this first day. Just 8 pounds, 8 ounces puts Glenn Pfeiffer of Tennessee in the lead.
What do you anticipate for the next 3 days?
Well, it's been kind of tough in practice, and I don't know whether they're biting a little bit better now, but I don't know. I got 7 bites and caught 6 of them, and you know, if I can keep doing it, I'll be happy. If I don't, I won't.
Win if you can do it.
Only 8 limits are scored. Glenn Pfeiffer and Jimmy Houston of Oklahoma share the leaderboard honors with 8 pounds, 8 ounces. Guido Hibden of Missouri is third, only 5 ounces back. Defending champion Mike Bingham of Tennessee is tied for 5th. The 107 pros weighed in only 223 bass, an average of just over 2 keepers per fisherman. However, Jimmy Houston, the co-leader, enjoyed a good day.
I caught 19 bass today, and most of them on a popar. I did catch several on a 1/4-ounce Strike King spinnerbait. Ended up 3 fish on a popar and 2 on a spinnerbait of the 5 fish I weighed in. Nobody's fishing where I'm fishing, and that's one thing that's good. But this is a hard old lake, and every one you catch, you just thankful that you catch.
Day 2, the Bassmaster North Carolina Top 100. Co-leader Jimmy Houston has a real hot spot. He's fishing near the Marshall Steam Station, a short distance from the tournament weigh-in site. During the fall, as the lake waters cool, this thermal heated area serves as a hot tub for bait fish and bass. However, this morning, the only shad activity observed by Houston is behind the off-limits cable. His hot spot has cooled down. Upriver, Glenn Pfeiffer, who shared the lead yesterday with 8.5 pounds, is fishing a point with a spinnerbait, but his pattern has changed.
Well, the only thing that I've had going for me was some channel walls, and I can't even get bit on them today. I've fished some shallow banks today and got a lot of bites and just a lot of non-keepers. This is not what I've been doing, but I mean, you know, you got to fish what's left to you. This place gets really small.
Jimmy Houston's backup pattern is fishing docks on the main lake.
I believe he goes.
That looks like a 14.
All right.
Glenn Pfeiffer is keeping his spinnerbait wet, hoping he'll happen onto a 14-inch keeper. Yesterday, Jimmy Houston missed a good fish under this dock. He switched from a spinnerbait to a topwater popper. Oh boy, tough luck. Missed strikes in this tournament are lost opportunities to move ahead in the standings. But Glenn Pfeiffer's not too upset.
Even a guy who wins the thing will have a bad day. I know I'm sure having one today.
With the leaders struggling, any angler in this tournament can make a charge. Like Randy Howell in fourth yesterday. The North Carolina pro is fishing a floating worm rig around boat docks in the creeks off the Catawba River.
Come on, man. Not too bad.
Local favorite Guy Aker Sr. had a slow start yesterday, but this veteran pro is making a serious bid to get back into the hunt today. Guy's working on a 5 bass limit. He's using a chartreuse-colored Model A crankbait. As expected, the Day 2 weigh-in is full of surprises, such as Peter Televeros of Florida. He jumps from 23rd place into the lead with 4 bass and 7 pounds 9 ounces.
I think I've got something that's working a little bit better than most other things, and I'm going to try and stick with it again tomorrow and see. I don't know that the cloud cover did or didn't help it, or I don't know what's going to happen, but I think when the sun comes out, believe it or not, it'll even get tougher.
Jimmy Houston's bag is light, 3 pounds 13 ounces. He scratched out 3 keepers. Yesterday's co-leader, Glenn Pfeiffer, weighs in only 1 bass, but it's the lunker of the day, 4 pounds 7 ounces. Glenn earns the $1,000 big bass bonus, but more importantly, he's still in contention for the big money. But Bernie Schultz of Florida has the hot hand today. His 3 keepers weigh a solid 8 pounds 7 ounces and vault Bernie from 11th into the top spot.
Yeah, I'm sight fishing.
You see the bass, you run a spinnerbait or a top water, or
It's a different bait for every fish, Ray. That's the truth. I've got about 12 different lures I'm using, it seems like. I don't know what they're going to eat.
all right, that's fishing. Thank you so much, Bernie Schultz.
Okay, it's a smorgasbord for a scoreboard, too. Bernie Schultz leads with 15 pounds 9 ounces, but there's not a clue as to what happens tomorrow. Guy Aker jumps from nowhere to 2nd place with a limit and 9 pounds 6 ounces today, as does Mark Davis of Arkansas with the day's best string of 9 pounds 9 ounces. Mark ranks 3rd, followed by Glenn Pfeiffer and Peter Televeros tied for 4th. Jimmy Houston slips into 8th place. Stay tuned. We'll shuffle the deck and deal the next round in a moment. Someone's got to have an ace in the hole to win this thing. Just being in the right place with the right cast seems to be the pattern for success in this Bassmaster North Carolina Top 100. Tournament leader Bernie Schultz hooked this largemouth right off the bat, then fished similar laydowns without a strike. However, Bernie's floating worm has produced more action than most lure presentations. Here's how he rigs it.
I'm using a 1/0 Gamakatsu hook, and I'm Texas rigging the bait, and I'm slightly exposing the point of the hook through the top side of the worm. Like so. And it's on a 1 foot a leader with a swivel right up here. That's about 10 inches because I bit it off, but as long as you got 10 to 12 inches on there, it'll work fine. I'm seeing almost every one of them. Matter of fact, I've caught fish that I saw swim in the bank. I've seen a lot of refusals too. Unfortunately, a lot of the fish get interested, but they don't eat it.
Yet another pattern is developing for Glenn Pfeiffer, swimming a jig around floating docks.
Be long, baby. One more off. Oh. Coming down the shady sides of these floats. These fish are just suspended underneath them. And there's not really a lot of shad in this lake that I've seen that would support very many bass, but there's a lot of brim that hang around these things. I think this jig is, they're kind of seeing it as a little perch or a big bite that they don't often find in this lake.
Fishing deeper with a Carolina rigged lizard is Mark Davis's answer.
All kind of stuff. At least that'll make him eat it. I found these fish in here in a bend in the creek channel. The creek channel comes up this bank and turns here and continues on up to my left. And what I'm fishing is just that bend, and it's got a lot of stumps and some old rocks on it. It's not a real big drop. It's only from about 7 to 10 foot, but on Lake Norman, there's just not very many creek channels. It's an old lake, and most of the channels are silted in. This is just one of the few channels I found that would hold fish. Most of your creeks don't have any channel to them at all. Yes, sir.
After 4 days of fishing, the 107 pros at Lake Norman combined for these catch totals: 722 bass weighed in, 21 5 bass limits, total weight 1,154 pounds 11 ounces. The winning weight 23 pounds 4 ounces, and the winner Peter Tillaveros of Florida.
Put him in the lead, people. 6 pounds. 6 pounds. 2 ounces. Mark him on 2 ounces. There you are, right there. Woo! Look at them. Hold them. See them. Every one of them in good shape. There's no penalty. They're all alive. Son,
that's Roland's line.
Yeah, I know it, but I'm telling you, listen, that's incredible. You were out of sight. You were down 9th place with 17-2.
I'd have never thought that I would have caught a limit today. I didn't bet anything on my chances of catching anything today. It's been so different, but I had one little trick pattern that seemed to be consistent through the whole tournament, and it produced most of my fish. I was catching suspended fish out of treetops. The trees had to hang over 25 feet of water, and there's only about 4 of them on the lake.
The final standings: Peter Tillaveros wins his second BASS title, scoring 23 pounds 4 ounces and 16 bass. Jack Haynes of Louisiana and Mickey Bruce of Georgia finished dead even with 22 pounds 7 ounces in second place. Defending champion Mike Bingham is fourth, followed by Mark Davis in fifth. In the amateur division, Bo Weaver of Chester, South Carolina is the winner with 6 bass and 8 pounds 4 ounces. His prize, a $19,000 fully rigged Ranger bass boat.
And if I could fish enough of them in the course of a day, I could probably catch a limit.
Right now, it's time for the Pros Pointer, the how-to section of the Bassmasters. Brought to you by Wrangler. Real, comfortable jeans.
This is the type of tree that I fished this week during the tournament. In the fall, a lot of lakes typically turn over and fish tend to suspend. What I found was that a tree that's like this, that lays out off the bank and suspends over 25 feet of water, over 30 foot of water, the fish will usually get in the bottom ends of the branches. And the only way I could make them bite was to take this little bait called a scatter shad, rig it with a 3/0 HP hook, 12-pound line so that it would sink pretty well, and the hook gave it all the weight it needed. Throw it into the tops of these trees and work it out real erratically. and it would cause the fish to come up and bite at it. Sometimes they'd miss it the first time. I'd throw back in, work it a little slower, let it fall, and the fish would come back up and get it. 95% of the fish I caught this week I saw come up and hit the bait. So it's a pretty neat way of catching fish in the fall. It's something that you might want to try at home.
The North Carolina Top 100 champion, Peter Tilaveras, known by the pros as Peter T. Now everybody knows what the T stands for, tough. For sure, Lake Norman's a test of the best. Next week, we're headed to the Lone Star State for the Bassmaster Texas Invitational, and another tough one. Lake Livingston is high and muddy, following the worst flood in this century. Will the bass still bite? Join us and find out. For the Bassmasters, I'm Bob Cobb. Hope to see you all right here next week.
The Bass